Toronto's incoming mayor, Olivia Chow, says she will hit the ground running when she's sworn in next month. One of her biggest challenges could be getting support for her agenda from Ontario's Premier, Doug Ford. He criticized Chow during the campaign and endorsed one of her rivals. Mike Crawley is our Ontario Provincial Affairs reporter. He joins me now. So, you know, Mike, we say criticized during the course of the campaign. It was some pretty harsh language that was used the week before the election, saying that if Chow is elected, it would be an unmitigated disaster. How do these two work together now?
Yeah, and earlier in the campaign, Doug Ford said if a lefty mayor gets elected, God help the people of Toronto. So, look, these two could be set up for some pretty serious conflict. Olivia Chow's a longtime New Democrat. Doug Ford, obviously a conservative. They ran against each other for mayor of Toronto in 2014. And during the campaign, Chow faced these questions about how she would handle Ford. And Ford called the prospect of Chow winning an unmitigated disaster, as you mentioned, Arthi. Well, Doug Ford is now trying to downplay that. He's saying this was the kind of thing you say on a campaign, mud that you sling during an election. He says that they can and will work together and that they'll find common ground. And that's also a phrase that Olivia Chow is using as well. So there's pretty much a fairly conciliatory tone right now from the two of them.
And you know, it was interesting because we were actually on air when Doug Ford was being asked about Olivia Chow, and he said she's actually a really nice person. So it was a very, you know, it felt like quite a turnaround from what we had heard just a few days before. All of that said, wondering if there's any sort of precedent that has been set in terms of such a heated campaign, political rivals, but then working effectively together.
Sure, Arthur. I mean, you see it all the time in party leadership races, for instance. Politicians have to manage to get along together after they've gone and criticized one another during the run for leading a party. With these two people, take Doug Ford's relationship with the Prime Minister, for instance. You know, he is, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau slammed Doug Ford during the 2019 federal election campaign, and now the two of them are constantly making joint announcements about, you know, big investments, plans for their governments to collaborate together. So here's the view about the prospects for Chow and Ford working well together from a political scientist who watched the campaign really closely.
I think that Chow signaled in her victory speech that she wants to get to work and she doesn't want to be adversarial or oppositional to the Premier. I think they both know that they need to work together in order to address the issues that face the city, and that there's political benefits to the two of them working together.
And there's a tangible example of Doug Ford working with a lefty mayor, Andrea Horwath, who's now the mayor of Hamilton. For the previous 4 years, she was the opposition leader of the NDP in Ontario and was constantly butting heads with Ford. She told me that she's actually getting on quite fine with him now. Now, look, it's not going to be all sunshine and unicorns between these two. Doug Ford and Olivia Chow are going to have things that they're going to disagree on, and potentially one of the biggest sources of conflict is going to be the City of Toronto's billion-dollar hole in its budget.
Thanks for this, Mike. That is the CBC's Mike Crawley.